My fiancée said I don't love you enough to marry you and ended everything in front of her friends. So I took back my family ring, refused to pay for the canceled wedding, and finally found peace moving on. So my fiancée Marissa and I have been together for 4 years. We got engaged 8 months ago. The wedding was supposed to be in 6 weeks. Everything was booked, paid for, planned. Her dress was altered. My groomsmen had their suits. We'd sent the invitations. This was happening. Or so I thought. Let me back up. Marissa is a creative strategist at a big marketing firm. I'm a mechanical engineer. We've always been different personality types. She's spontaneous and creative. I'm methodical and practical, but it worked. Or I thought it worked. She loved trying new restaurants and planning weekend trips. I loved having someone pull me out of my comfort zone. We balanced each other out. Last Tuesday, she texted me about doing brunch on Saturday with her 3 closest friends. She said it would be nice to have something light and fun before the final stretch of wedding stress. I said sure. I like her friends well enough. And honestly, I figured it was one of those things where she wanted to show off the wedding planning or talk about honeymoon ideas or whatever. Normal pre-wedding stuff. So Saturday morning, we met at this trendy place downtown, the kind with exposed brick and $18 avocado toast. Her friends were already there, Tiffany, Alyssa, and Priya. Everyone was in a good mood. Lots of hugs, ordering mimosas. I was drinking coffee because I had an early gym session, and mimosas at 11 a.m. isn't really my thing, but whatever. The conversation was light. They were talking about Marissa's dress, about the venue, asking me if I'm nervous. Standard stuff. Then Alyssa asked Marissa something about the wedding party photos, and I noticed Marissa's face change, like she went pale. She put down her fork and just stared at her plate for a second. Everyone kind of stopped talking, and there was this weird moment where we all just looked at her. Then she looked up at me and said, "I can't marry you." Just like that, at brunch, in front of 3 people, as if she hadn't been talking about our wedding just minutes earlier. I honestly thought I misheard her at first. Tiffany laughed nervously like it was a joke, but Marissa kept looking at me with this expression I'd never seen before. Not angry, not sad, just decided. Final. "I can't marry you," she repeated. "I don't love you the way a wife should." The table went completely silent. I could hear the espresso machine hissing behind the counter. Alyssa looked like she wanted to disappear into her chair. Priya's mouth was literally hanging open. And here's the thing. I didn't cry, I didn't yell, I didn't make a scene. Maybe it was shock, maybe it was pride, I don't know. But I just nodded, took a breath, and said, "Thank you for being honest. I need the ring back." The engagement ring was my grandmother's. White gold, 3 small diamonds. Nothing flashy, but it meant something to my family. Marissa looked down at her hand like she'd forgotten she was wearing it, then slowly pulled it off and handed it to me. Her hand was shaking. I stood up, put the ring in my pocket, and looked at her friends. Wedding's off, obviously. But well, I guess I'll be throwing a dodged bullet party instead. You're all invited. Then I walked out, left my coffee half finished on the table, left Marissa sitting there with her friends, and drove home in this weird fog where I felt both completely numb and weirdly relieved. Which makes no sense, but that's where my head was at. Here's something that I need to mention because it's about to become very relevant. All the wedding deposits, venue, catering, photographer, DJ, flowers, everything are in Marissa's name. Not mine. Not both of ours. Just hers. And before anyone asks why, it's because she insisted on it. About 6 months into the engagement, she got really particular about wanting everything under her name because she wanted to maintain her financial independence and didn't want to lose her identity by having me pay for everything. I thought it was a little unusual, but honestly, I respected it. She has a good job, she wanted to contribute, and I figured it showed she was serious about being a partner in the marriage. And it's not like I wasn't involved financially. The total was around $62,000, split between us in reality, but all the contracts have her name on them. So now she's sitting on $62,000 worth of non-refundable wedding deposits. And I have my grandmother's ring back. I haven't heard from her since I left the restaurant. No text, no call, nothing. Her friends have been blowing up my phone, though. Tiffany sent me a long message about how there's always a way to work through things and how cold feet are normal. Alyssa called me twice. I didn't answer. Priya sent a short text that just said, "I'm so sorry. My groomsmen are confused as hell. My parents are. Well, my mom cried and my dad asked me 3 times if I was sure I didn't want to try to fix it. But Marissa didn't say she was scared. She didn't say she needed time. She said she doesn't love me the way a wife should. What am I supposed to do with that? I'm not devastated. I'm not falling apart. I'm just confused and maybe a little angry. Not because she ended it, If she doesn't want to marry me, then she absolutely shouldn't. But because she did it in public with witnesses, like she needed an audience to pull the trigger. So yeah, that's where I am, single. 6 weeks before a wedding that isn't happening. With a ring in my pocket and a very strange sense of relief I don't quite understand yet. Edit. A lot of people are asking if there was someone else or if I did something. Honestly, I don't think so. There were no signs, no weird behavior, no suspicious texting, no changes in our physical relationship. We were fine. Or I thought we were fine. That's the part that's messing with my head the most. Update 1. Posted 8 days later. So I wasn't planning to update this. But the last week has been absolutely insane, and I need to vent somewhere that isn't my best friend's couch. First things first. I'm doing okay. Not great, not terrible, just okay. I've been staying busy, went back to work on Monday, been hitting the gym harder than usual, reorganized my entire apartment for no reason, keeping my hands and brain occupied. But the real reason I'm posting is because of what's been happening with Marissa's family and friends, and because I've learned some things that are making me see the whole situation differently. The day after my original post, Marissa's mom called me. I almost didn't answer, but I figured I owed her that much after 4 years. She was not quite crying, but close. She kept saying things like, "I don't understand what Marissa's thinking, and you two seemed so happy. And is there any way you can work this out?" I was as polite as I could be, but I kept it short. I told her I appreciated her calling, but that Marissa made her choice very clear, and I wasn't going to beg someone to marry me. She got quiet after that, then said something that stuck with me. She's going to regret this. Maybe she will. Maybe she won't. Not really my problem anymore. But here's where it gets messier. Over the past week, I've gotten calls, texts, and even a few DMs on social media from Marissa's side of the family and her friend group. Not all of them, but enough to be noticeable. And the messages all have this similar tone. Like I'm somehow the bad guy here for abandoning her with all the wedding debt. Marissa's cousin sent me a long text about how I was being petty by not helping with the costs, because you were planning to pay for half anyway. So what's the difference? Marissa's college roommate left me a voicemail saying I was showing my true colors by walking away when things got hard. Even Tiffany, who was at the brunch, sent me this passive-aggressive message about how a real man would help clean up the mess even if the relationship is over. I haven't responded to any of them. What's there to say the deposits are in her name because she specifically wanted it that way? I didn't abandon her, she ended it herself. But apparently in their minds, I'm supposed to swoop in and save her from the financial fallout of her own decision. Then 3 days ago, Marissa showed up at my apartment. I wasn't expecting her. I heard the doorbell around 7 p.m., looked through the peephole, and there she was. For a second, I thought about not answering, but that felt childish. So I opened the door. She looked tired. Not crying, not emotional, just worn out. She asked if she could come in. I said, "Sure." We sat in my living room, her on the armchair, me on the couch, and she got right to it. "I need your help with the wedding costs," she said. No preamble, no apology, just straight to the point. "I can't cover all of it on my own, and you were planning to pay half anyway. I'm asking you to honor that." I'm not going to lie, I was stunned. Not because she asked, but because of how she asked. Like it was a business transaction, like we were negotiating a contract. I asked her, "Why would I pay for a wedding that isn't happening?" She said, "Because you're capable of it, and I'm drowning here." Here's the thing. She's not wrong that I'm more financially stable than her. I make more money, I have more savings, I live more conservatively. But that's not the point. The point is that she chose to end the engagement. She chose to have everything in her name. And now she wants me to bail her out. I told her no. I said, "You wanted independence, you have it." And to my surprise, she didn't yell, she didn't cry. She just nodded, stood up, and left. And that was it. Haven't heard from her since. But the fallout has continued. Her friends are still messaging me. Her family is still calling. My own friends are split. Half of them think I'm doing the right thing. Half think I'm being unnecessarily harsh. My mom asked me if I was sure this is the person you want to be. That one stung. But here's the thing that's been nagging at me. I've been thinking about the past year, and I'm starting to see a pattern I didn't notice before. Marissa had been traveling a lot more for work. Not just normal business trips, but international conferences, weekend workshops, networking events all over the place. One of my groomsmen, Jake, who's also friends with Marissa, also pulled me aside and said she'd mentioned to him a few months ago that her company was opening doors for her and that she was building something. And she never really went into detail about those trips either. I figured she was just busy with work stuff, and I didn't want to be the controlling boyfriend who needed to know her every move, so I didn't push. But looking back now, I realize she's building a whole separate professional life and I barely knew about it. That's when it started clicking for me. Maybe the reason she ended things wasn't about me doing something wrong. Maybe it was about her outgrowing the life we were planning together and me not even realizing it was happening. I don't know if that makes it better or worse. On one hand, it's not personal. It's not about me being inadequate or doing something wrong. On the other hand, it means we were building toward a future that she already knew wouldn't work for her. And she didn't have the guts to tell me until it was too late to course correct. I'm not angry at her. I'm just, I don't know, disappointed, confused. I keep thinking about all the conversations we had about the future, about buying a house, about starting a family in a few years, about building a stable life together. Were those lies, or did she mean them at the time and then change her mind? So yeah, that's where I am now. Still not paying for the wedding deposits. Still not reaching out to Marissa. Still processing the fact that I almost married someone who was already halfway out the door without me even noticing. The Dodged a Bullet party is still happening next weekend, by the way. Half my friends think it's a great idea, half think it's in poor taste. I'm doing it anyway. Not to mock Marissa, but because I need to mark this moment somehow. I need to reclaim my life and move forward, and a party with my actual friends seems like a good way to do that. Thanks for listening, Reddit. This community has been weirdly helpful in sorting through my head. Update 2 posted 12 days after Update 1. This is probably going to be my last update because things have reached a weird kind of resolution that I didn't see coming. So after my last post, I expected more of the same. Marissa's family and friends continuing to message me, the guilt trips, the passive-aggressive comments about doing the right thing. But instead, something really strange happened. Complete silence. Marissa stopped reaching out. Her friends stopped messaging. Her family stopped calling. It was like someone flipped a switch and suddenly everyone just disappeared from my life. No explanation, no final message, just radio silence. At first I was relieved. I figured they'd finally accepted that I wasn't changing my mind about the deposits and they'd moved on. But after a few days, it started feeling weird. Too quiet, too sudden. Then about a week after my last update, I got an email that explained everything. And it wasn't from Marissa. It was from someone named Catherine Brannon, Marissa's boss. Well, not her direct boss, but the senior creative director at her company. The subject line was, "Request to speak personal matter," which confused me as hell. Since when do bosses get involved in their employees' personal relationships? But it wasn't that at all. I'm going to paraphrase the email because it was long, but the basic gist was this. Catherine wasn't just Marissa's superior. She'd been her mentor for 5 years since Marissa first joined the company. They'd developed a close professional relationship that had become somewhat personal over time. She wasn't trying to defend Marissa or excuse what happened. She just felt that since she'd been part of the situation that she'd been encouraging and coaching Marissa through the decision for months. And she'd watched Marissa agonize over how to tell me. She owed me the context that Marissa couldn't bring herself to provide. And then she dropped the bomb. Marissa indeed didn't leave me for someone else. She didn't leave me because she fell out of love. She left me because she accepted a position with her company's European division. A massive career opportunity that involves leading creative strategy for a multi-city expansion project. The job requires her to travel constantly. We're talking 10 to 14 days per month split between London, Amsterdam, and Berlin for at least the next 3 years. The position came with a significant raise, massive professional visibility, and the kind of career trajectory that people in her field dream about. Catherine explained that Marissa had been interviewing for the role for 6 months since before we got engaged. The final decision came down 2 months ago, right around the time we sent out wedding invitations. Marissa knew the job was incompatible with the life we planned. She knew I wanted stability, a house in the suburbs, kids in the next few years. She knew I'd never agreed to a long-distance marriage or a life where she was gone half the month. So she made a choice. She didn't tell me about the job. She didn't ask me to compromise or adjust our plans. She just ended it at a brunch in front of her friends because she'd convinced herself that was kinder than having a long, drawn-out conversation where I tried to make it work and she'd have to keep saying no. Catherine's email ended with this. She didn't break the engagement to hurt you. She broke it before you two built a life that neither of you would thrive in. She loved you enough to let you go before you resented her for choosing her career. I hope you can understand that. I sat with that email for a long time, read it 3 or 4 times. And I'll be honest, I didn't know how to feel. On one hand, I was furious. She knew about this job for 6 months and didn't tell me. We spent 6 months planning a wedding, talking about our future, making decisions together. And the whole time she was holding this massive secret. She let me believe we were on the same page when we absolutely weren't. On the other hand, I get it. I do. If she told me about the job, I would have tried to compromise. I would have suggested long distance or delayed plans for kids or tried to adjust my career so I could travel with her. I would have twisted myself into knots trying to make it work because that's what you do when you love someone, right? You make it work. But she knew me well enough to know that I'd be miserable. I'd resent the distance. I'd resent the constant travel. I'd resent feeling like I was building a life alone while she chased her dreams across Europe. And she'd resent me for making her feel guilty about it. So she ended it quickly, cleanly before we got any more entangled. Was it the right way to do it? Hell no. The brunch thing was cowardly. The secrecy was unfair. But I think I understand the logic now. She didn't choose her job over me. She chose the version of herself she's been becoming. The version that wants to travel, to lead, to build something big. And that version doesn't fit with the version of me who wants Sunday dinners, a yard, a predictable schedule, and kids before I'm 35. Neither of those versions is wrong. They're just incompatible. I haven't responded to Catherine's email yet. I'm not sure what to say. Part of me wants to reach out to Marissa directly and ask why she couldn't just tell me the truth. But another part of me thinks there's no point. It's done. The engagement is over. The wedding is canceled. We're both moving on to the lives we actually want. Not the life we tried to build together. I did cancel the dodged a bullet party, though. It felt wrong after learning all this. I'm not celebrating anymore. I'm just processing. I don't think I dodged a bullet. I think we dodged each other, and maybe that's okay. Edit, a lot of people are asking if I would have supported her career if she told me. Honestly, I want to say yes. I want to believe I'm the kind of person who'd encourage my partner to chase a huge opportunity, even if it meant sacrifice on my end. But if I'm being real with myself, I don't know. I wanted kids soon. I wanted stability. I don't know if I could have genuinely been happy with her gone half the month indefinitely while I waited for her to build her career. And I think she knew that about me better than I did. Final update posted 15 days after update 2. I wasn't going to post again, but something happened yesterday that made me feel like I owed this community one final update. You guys have been following this story from the beginning, and I think you deserve to know how it actually ends. The dodged a bullet party happened after all. Not the way I originally planned it, but it happened. After I found out about Marissa's job and the real reason she ended things, I canceled the party. It felt petty and small to celebrate when I understood what she'd actually been dealing with. But my friends, specifically Jake, my best man, who would have been, convinced me to do something smaller. Not a dodged a bullet party, but more of a reclaiming my life thing. Just close friends, low-key at my place. Beer, pizza, hanging out. A way to mark the moment and move forward. So last Friday, about a dozen people came over. It was good. Honestly, it was really good. We played cards, told stories, laughed about stupid stuff from college. Nobody brought up Marissa unless I did, and I mostly didn't. It felt like the first night in weeks where I wasn't drowning in all of this. Around 10 p.m., my phone buzzed with an email notification. I almost ignored it, but I saw the sender's name, Patricia Allen, Marissa's mom. I stepped outside onto my balcony to read it in private. The email wasn't long, but it hit me hard. I'm going to share the important parts. Elliot, I want to thank you for how you've handled this situation. I know my daughter hurt you, and I know our family hasn't made this easy for you at first. But you never attacked her publicly. You never tried to turn people against her, and you never made her feel small for choosing her career. That took character, and I want you to know I see that. Marissa has been crying a lot lately. She's been carrying a lot of guilt about how she ended things. She knows she was a coward about it. I know Catherine reached out to you. Marissa didn't want her to do that, and she didn't want me reaching out either. But Catherine and I both felt you deserved to know the truth. I hope you can forgive us for overstepping. When Marissa came to your apartment asking for help with the wedding costs, she wasn't actually drowning. She'd already figured out how to cover everything, took on extra freelance work, borrowed from her savings, made a payment plan with the vendors. She came to you because she thought if you hated her completely, it would be easier for you to move on. She was wrong about that, I think. But she was trying in her own misguided way to make a clean break. She didn't stop loving you. She just realized that love wasn't enough for the life she chose. And she knows you deserve someone whose dreams align with yours. Not someone who'd be asking you to wait and compromise and adjust for years while she figured out who she's becoming. She's leaving for London in 2 weeks. She's excited and terrified. I'm proud of her, but I'm sad too. I thought I'd be helping her plan a wedding right now, and instead, I'm helping her ship boxes overseas. I hope you find what you're looking for, Elliot. I really do. You're a good man and you'll make someone very happy one day. I sat on that balcony for a while after reading it. My friends were inside laughing about something and I could hear music playing, but I just needed a minute to let it all sink in. She didn't stop loving me. She just realized love wasn't enough. That sentence is going to stick with me for a long time. I went back inside and rejoined the party. I didn't tell anyone about the email. It felt private final, but something shifted in me that night. I stopped feeling angry. I stopped feeling confused. I just felt clear. So here's where I land on all of this. Marissa made the right call, not in the way she did it. The secrecy was unfair. The brunch thing and everything that came after was still a terrible choice. But in ending the engagement, yeah, she was right. I wanted a life she couldn't give me. She wanted a life I couldn't support. We loved each other, but we weren't going in the same direction. And trying to force it would have destroyed us both. I've been thinking about what her mom said, that I deserve someone whose dreams align with mine. And she's right. I deserve someone who wants the same kind of life I want. Someone who gets excited about the idea of a backyard and kids and Sunday dinners. Someone who sees stability as a foundation, not a cage. And Marissa deserves someone who wants to explore the world with her. Who sees her ambition as inspiration, not abandonment. Someone who thrives on spontaneity and adventure the way she does. We weren't those people for each other, and that's okay. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt anymore. I'm just moving forward. A few practical updates before I sign off for good. The wedding would have been this weekend. Instead, I'm going hiking with Jake and a few other friends. Getting out of the city, clearing my head, spending time with people who actually want to be in my life. After reading Patricia's email, I sent Marissa about half of what the wedding deposits cost. I didn't tell her I was doing it, just did a bank transfer. I don't want to feel like I owe her anything, and I don't want her to have sacrificed financially for a wedding that was supposed to be ours. We both walked away from that future. We should both eat the cost. I haven't talked to Marissa since the day she came to my apartment. I don't plan to. We don't need closure or a final conversation. Her mom's email was enough. And as for Marissa, I hope she crushes it in London. I hope she builds the career she wants and becomes the person she's meant to be. We weren't meant to share a life together, but I don't regret the 4 years we had. She taught me a lot about myself, what I want, what I need, what I'm not willing to compromise on. That's valuable. Sometimes you don't dodge a bullet. Sometimes you dodge a future where one of you would have had to give up who they would becoming. And that's not a tragedy. That's just two people being honest about what they need, even if it took one of them way too long to say it out loud. Thanks for following this story, Reddit. Thanks for the advice, the support, and even the tough love in the comments. I'm doing okay. Better than okay, actually. I'm building a life that's mine, and that's enough. Time to close this chapter and start the next one.